guys, welcome back for a brand new box office prediction video. As always now, we are kicking this off with our Fantasy Movie League shoutouts. Special round of those today because not only do I have to give shoutouts to last weekend's winners, but we also have a Spring 2018 winner as well. First off, the people who topped the charts last weekend were Spawn Out, Sam Page, Furiosa, Ginger Snaps Back, Cineplex Del Film Maven, Mos Eisley, Trecciano 8's Cineplex, Delmar Dennis, Alaskan Pipeline, XD's Solo Cinema Forum, Harmonswart's Cineplex, and $1 Billion Cineplex. And now, of course, that brings us to our big winner for the spring 2018 season, and it is none other than Furiosa. That is likely a name you've heard many times over as I started to do this Predictions with Perri Fantasy Movie League, because Furiosa has consistently topped the charts, and that's why Furiosa is our spring 2018 winner. Good luck to everybody playing for summer 2018. Now to recap last weekend's predictions. I did go 5 for 5, but as you probably already know, some of my numbers were a little off, and of course, that points me directly to Solo: A Star Wars Story. I did think it had a shot at beating that Memorial Day weekend record, but it only made $103 million for the 4-day weekend. Deadpool 2 also took a bigger hit than I predicted, coming in at number 2 with $53.8 million. Then it was Avengers: Infinity War at number 3 with another $22.5 million, followed by Book Club at 4 with $13 million, and then Life of the Party taking the number 5 spot with $6.9 million. That brings me to this weekend now, and this time around, I've got Book Club at number 5. I'm betting pretty big on this one yet again. At this point in time, the ticket sales are cruising along pretty nicely, and that leads me back to my The Intern comparison from last weekend. So looking at that movie's drops, in weekend 2, that movie fell 34%, but weekend 3, it only dropped 25%. And if we see a similar trend with Book Club and its percent change winds up coming down, maybe to 20%, we're looking at another $8 million for this movie. Now it's time for my number 4 of the weekend, and that honor goes to Avengers: Infinity War. Infinity War had a pretty solid weekend 5, and I think it could be in good shape for weekend 6 as well. Looking at Jurassic World again, that movie in weekend 5 dropped 38%. Weekend 6, that percent change came down to 37%. If we see a similar thing happen with Avengers: Infinity War and the percent change comes down as well, we could be looking at something like a 40% drop for the movie in weekend 6. That would leave it with another $10 million and the number 4 spot on my lineup. Moving on to number 3, that is where I have one of the weekend's newcomers. It's Adrift. Admittedly, I had a little bit of a tough time figuring out a precise number for this one. First thing, when I looked at it, the marketing. I haven't really seen all that much marketing for it. And then the ticket sales, yeah, it was in the mix, but it wasn't anything to suggest that it would really pop this weekend. But then I looked back at another Sam Claflin summer release from 2016, and it was Me Before You, and that one opened pretty big with $18 million. And on top of that, when that movie opened, its competition was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Out of the Shadows, and also X-Men Apocalypse's second weekend in theaters, which is pretty comparable to what I think Adrift is going to face this time around. So even though I don't think Adrift has enough buzz to match Me Before You, I do think it has a very good shot of matching maybe Age of Adeline and also The Longest Ride, both of which took $13 million. So that's where I'm putting Adrift, at number 3 with $13 million. Now it is on to my number 2, and that is where I have Deadpool 2. Digging into this one while Dewey's in destruction mode, even though Deadpool 2 saw a much steeper weekend 2 drop than the first Deadpool, I still think I could look at that first Deadpool movie and its percent changes to figure out a trend that might help me figure out the number for Deadpool 2 this weekend. So, looking at Deadpool, weekend 2, that movie dropped 57.5%. Weekend 3, however, that percent change came down to 45%. And considering the fact that this weekend we don't have any new big wide releases, I do think there's a very good chance that Deadpool 2 will see a drop in its percent change, maybe all the way down to about 55%. And if that's what it winds up losing, it's making another $20 million this weekend. Now it is time to hit that #1 spot, and yet again, it is Solo, a Star Wars story. So yeah, clearly it was a pretty disappointing start for this one, but it can make up some ground if it's got legs, and that's what weekend 2 for Solo is going to give us a sense of. So in order to figure out what it might make this time around, I was looking at comparable movies that also had Memorial Day weekend releases, and that led me straight to X-Men Days of Future Past. That movie's 4-day total for its opening weekend was $110 million. 3-day total, $91 million. In weekend 2, that movie was up against the opening of Maleficent, and it dropped 64%. Yeah, Maleficent is bigger competition than Adrift, but I'm also taking into account that Solo is still facing Deadpool 2 and also what's left of Avengers Infinity War as well. So while I'm not going with that full 64% drop for Solo, I am going to say it's going to lose about 60% of its opening weekend profits, and if that's how things go for this movie, it is making $34 million for its second weekend in theaters. 'Tis recap time now. I've got Solo, a Star Wars story, topping the charts with $34 million. Then Deadpool 2 coming in with $20 million. Adrift taking the third position with $13 million. Then Avengers Infinity War coming in at number 4 with $10 million, followed by Book Club at number 5 with $8 million. There it is, guys. Those are my predictions, but now, of course, it's your turn. Hit that comment section below. Share your top 5 and some number predictions right there. And now, as always, don't forget to check out the Predictions with Perri League over at Fantasy Movie League. You can find both the URL and the password for that below. Summer season is just starting, so now is the time to join up. And as always, too, I've got Patreon shoutouts to give. This trio is Clifford Sakata, Jason Phillips, and Dylan Steiner. Thank you guys so much for being here, for your continued support. I really do hope you guys know how much it means to me that you're here and you're willing to support me in doing what I love so much. I love these box office videos especially, so you know what? Like and share, tell your friends about it, join Fantasy Movie League, all that good stuff, and I will see you next weekend with more box office predictions.